It is Super Bowl Sunday, and the first thing I'm going to do with this recipe is get this cabbage all chopped up. Now make sure you've taken off the bad looking pieces. Just get rid of them. Make sure your cabbage looks good, nice and clean. You've taken off the outer leaves. I always take off the top 2 layers of the cabbage leaves, and then I go in and I give it a chop. We're going to cut this into very thin strips, like so. And now I'm just going to turn it over, and I'm going to cut these into smaller pieces. Just take your time and cut your cabbage. I don't like cutting my cabbage into those really big chunky pieces. I like for it to be smaller pieces for this cabbage soup. If you were canning just regular cabbage, then you might want to cut your cabbage pieces a little larger, but I like these smaller fine pieces like that. Now I'm just going to take my cabbage and just look, I got my sink full of nice cool water, and I'm just taking my cabbage pieces and pushing them into the water as I cut the cabbage pieces into smaller bits. Now, you don't have to cut them this size if you don't want to, but this is just my preference, okay? So once you get them cut, go ahead and get them all in the water, because we definitely want to give this cabbage a good washing. Sometimes when you're growing cabbage, or when others are growing cabbage, you don't know if they've sprayed the cabbage, or you don't know if there's bits of sand or whatever that could have gotten in the cabbage. So I like to wash my cabbage once I cut it, and once I give it a nice good wash, it's going to be ready for me to take it out of the sink, right? Just look at that. It's beautiful. It's absolutely beautiful. Now this little fellow is Hey Hey, affectionately named by my granddaughter. And Hey Hey and I would like it if you would give our video a thumbs up. Just like the video and share as well if you are finding this information helpful. Now let's go ahead and get our cabbage out of the sink. As you can see, I am using just a little strainer here as I get it all scooped out. All right, just drain as much of that water off as you can, and I'm just placing it in my pot. It is officially Super Bowl Sunday. All right, y'all, let's go ahead and get our ingredients together and get them in the pot. I'm going to go over the ingredients with you as I go. Now, to start, I have 5 pounds of ground turkey, which I'm about to season, okay? And I also have my cabbage right there. And I wanted to try to get my cabbage as close to the weight as my turkey, right? 5 pounds of cabbage, 5 pounds of turkey. But that's kind of hard to do, right? So instead, I have about 6 pounds of cabbage, 5 pounds of turkey. So I'm good. Between 4 and 6, I'm good, okay? So the first thing I'm going to do is add a little bit of olive oil to my hot pot right here. I already had the heat going on there. So I'm going to go ahead and add just a little bit of olive oil to the bottom of this pot. Now I got 6 pounds of cabbage here. So it's going to be probably 3, I don't know, 4, 5, 6, 7 tablespoons. Okay. And we're going to put our cabbage in this pot. Ooh, that's a lot of cabbage. Now we got our cabbage in the pot. We mixed it around because we wanted to coat the cabbage in the oil, okay? And I have my fire on a medium heat. I'm gonna go ahead and pop my lid on. Don't worry, we're gonna season this cabbage. Not yet though, all right? Now I'm gonna turn my fire on my cast iron skillet here. And it's time to season this turkey. All right, let's go ahead and get our turkey seasoned up, okay? So first we're going to go in with 2 tablespoons of Italian seasoning. Next, we got 1 tablespoon of oregano, and these are flakes, by the way. And we're also doing 2 to 3 tablespoons of tonus saturatus. You know I put that stuff on everything. Now we got 2 to 3 tablespoons of onion powder, 2 to 3 tablespoons of granulated garlic. That's my preference. You can use powder if you like. 2 tablespoons of smoked paprika, a tablespoon of salt, and ½ tablespoon of white pepper. All right. Now, once you get all of your spices in, go ahead and give this a mix. Okay. You want to make sure this is well combined. All right. Now we're going to go ahead and add some olive oil to this very, very hot skillet. I was intending to add avocado oil, but I grabbed the wrong bottle. Okay, yes I did. Now let's go ahead and add our ground turkey to this skillet. We are going to start to cook this down just a bit, all right? We're not going to cook this all the way through. Now don't forget about the cabbage. Go ahead and give it a stir. We want to make sure that the cabbage does not stick to the bottom of this pan. Very, very important here. So once you finish with the first batch of ground turkey, we're going to go ahead and take that out of our skillet. Remember, we are not cooking this all the way through. We just want to remove the pink from the ground meat. Now, once you finish taking everything out of the skillet, we are not done yet. We're going to go in with our remaining ground turkey. If you have a skillet big enough that you can do it all at once, then grab that big skillet. And if you're cutting your batch in half, if you're reducing the amount, then you won't have to worry about this at all. Next, I'm going to grab my onions. I am using a sweet onion for this recipe, but you can use whatever kind of onions you like. I know some people only prefer to cook with red onions, some only with white, some only with yellow, but in this case, it's really going to be up to you. I have 2 medium onions here. Now, if you like, you can add 2 additional onions here, 2 to 4 medium onions. It just depends on you, okay? And if you're using large onions or extra large onions, well, you make the decision on just how many of those you want to put in this recipe, okay? The more vegetables you add, the heartier your recipe is going to be, and the more it'll stretch, right? So instead of getting 7 quarts, you might get 10, just depending on how many vegetables you add, okay? So now we're going to go ahead and grab some garlic. These are my garlic cloves, and as you can see, they have already started to sprout. Like, they're begging to be put in the ground, but nope, I'm not putting them in the ground. I'm going to put them in my food. So I'm going to go ahead and chop up 4 cloves of garlic. You can feel free to add more or less if you like. And I am going to give this a fine chop on that garlic, okay? But first, we're taking out the remaining ground turkey from that skillet. And once you get out the remaining turkey from that skillet, leave it on the stove. We're about to use it again. We're going to go ahead now and we put a little bit. See, I grabbed the avocado oil right there. I'm all mixed up. I'm all mixed up. Anywho, I added my onions to the pan first, and I'm going to saute those onions for about 2 or 3 minutes. And once I'm done sauteing those onions, then I'm going to go in with my garlic for about 1 minute only, okay? And once I'm done getting all of that sauteed, I'm going to go ahead and take it out of the pan, and I'm just going to put it in the pot or put it in the bowl with the ground turkey because it's all going in the pot, okay? So now let's move on. Now we're going to go in with roughly a ½ pound of carrots. If you want, you can always do a full pound of carrots if you like. But I'm just doing a ½ pound here and getting it in the soup. I want the cabbage to be the star of the show. Now I've taken the cabbage off of the heat over there. My cabbage has cooked down enough for me to continue to work with it. So now I'm just gonna go ahead and cut those tips off. So now I'm just gonna go ahead and get my carrots and just rough chop these carrots, getting them into the cabbage. These do not have to be sauteed or anything like that. They can go in just like they are, okay? Just a rough chop on the carrots. You can even shred them if you like. If you would prefer the carrots to be a little bit finer, you can just go ahead and shred them up if that's what you want to do. But this is fine right here. Just a rough chop. It doesn't matter how big either. They don't have to be uniformed or none of that, because they will cook down in the pressure canner, okay? I have to be careful with this knife. These knives are so sharp, so I have to be super careful with these. And now I'm just going to get these carrots put into my cabbage. Here. And just mix those in. Now you can see the cabbage is cooking down very, very well. Now to this cabbage, I'm not going to add very much seasoning to this. I'm just going to go in with about a half a tablespoon of salt and a half a tablespoon of white pepper. And I'm going to give this a stir. If you like it spicy, you can go in with more, okay? But this is all I'm putting in here for right now. Now we're going in with our 5 pounds of ground turkey, our onions, and our garlic. This is where it all starts to come together, okay? Just give that a mix. That smells so good. I cannot begin to tell you how wonderful this smells. Now we're going to go in with 2 quarts of diced tomatoes. If you don't have home canned tomatoes, that's fine. Just get yourself 2 of the big cans of diced tomatoes from the store. That works just fine, okay? So we went in with 2 quarts of these diced tomatoes. We're going to give this a mix around as well. Now, the next thing we're going to add to this is about 4 quarts of broth, okay? Now, I was not about to open my quarts of broth, so especially since I have some better than bouillon base in my refrigerator, I went ahead and decided, hey, at the last minute, I know, but I'm like, no, I'm just gonna use my base, and I got 4 quarts in here. Pour that right on over in there, and then I'm gonna give this a stir. Oh yes. Now we cooking with fish grease. Okay, so now what I am going to do is give this broth a taste, okay? Now I'm going to turn my fire up on, and I'm just going to heat this up again to a nice little simmer, okay? And once this comes up to a simmer, we will be ready to jar up our cabbage roll soup. Now, because I'm me and I don't like the way this soup looks, I'm going to go ahead and hit this with a couple of tablespoons of basil. Okay, because you know me, I like my food to be blessed and highly flavored. And I'm going to go back in with a couple of tablespoons of Italian seasoning. Okay. And you notice I said roughly, all right? Because I do mean roughly. And I'm going to give this a stir. Let's see. Oh, that smells great. That smells great. We got to season this with the hands of the ancestors, okay? Can't have no bland food, y'all. No bland food. Oh, my goodness. Do y'all see that soup? Oh, yes. She's ready to go now. It's time to get her in the canner. Now it is time to start jarring up our cabbage roll soup. Now this pot has been simmering on the stove for about 15 minutes or so because I wanted to make sure I gave my jars in the oven plenty of time to heat up, okay? Because we are putting hot soup in the canner, we need our canner to be somewhat hot and we need our jars to be hot. So that's why I have them in a preheated oven at 225. They've been in there sterilizing for the last 20 minutes, okay? So we are ready now. Now, another thing I want to remind you of, if you're new to canning, this is the point where you want to gather, make sure you have your tools ready to go. You are going to need your bands. You're going to need your lids. I still simmer my lids in a pot of water, okay? Once they come to a simmer, I just turn the pot off and let them sit there, okay? Now, for this soup, of course, you're gonna need a ladle. You're gonna need your jar lifter, a debubbler of sorts. Of course, you're gonna need, magnet, and you're gonna need a funnel, okay? And then just something to sit them on, and make sure you remember to have something to put your hot jars on so you don't burn your countertops, okay? Oh, and you are also gonna need some vinegar and paper towels for wiping the rims of your jars, okay? Let's go ahead and get to jarring up this soup. Also, if I didn't say so, this is the perfect time to give your soup a taste, okay? Because you want to make sure that it tastes exactly the way that you want it to taste, all right? And if it does not taste the way you want it, this is the perfect time to go ahead now and add any additional seasonings that you want to add to your soup, okay? Don't worry, the meat is done. It's not raw, okay? All right, let's go ahead and jar it up. Let's go ahead and jar up our delicious cabbage roll soup. I want you to take note right here because as you can see, I am primarily filling the jar with the cabbage, vegetables, and the ground turkey, although there is liquid there, okay? But I'm only going 3/4 of the way. Now, once I do that, everything else is strictly liquid only. Only the broth is going in. And we're going to bring this all the way up to a 1-inch headspace, okay? And once you get it to a 1-inch head spacing, then you're good on that jar. So I'm going to get all of these jars filled equally, the same, okay? Now, the reason why we're doing it this way is because we are making a soup and we do want to make sure we have enough broth in the jar so that once we open it, you know, it'll still have that soup consistency. In previous times when I've canned the soup, and I didn't add the extra broth, it was just really thick and it was just mostly vegetables and meat that was probably good to serve over anything, potatoes or whatever, right? So with that being said, because it's going to be a soup, we are making sure to put plenty of broth inside of the jars, okay? Now, I don't know if you can smell this. You know, use your imagination, but it smells absolutely amazing in this kitchen. And of course, Mr. H wanted me to save some for dinner, so I definitely had to save some for dinner. And of course, this recipe would have given me 14 quarts. But because we had some with our dinner and Mr. H took some for lunch the following day, I didn't get my 14 quarts. But that's okay. That's okay. I always strive for 14. All right, so now we're going to go ahead and debubble these jars. I know that it's soup, but I still am debubbling because I do have cabbage in the jar, and I'm just making sure there are no pockets in here, okay? Once you debubble, if you notice that the liquid drops, go ahead and add a little bit more and bring it back up to that 1-inch head space, okay? Now we're going to take our paper towel and our vinegar, and we're going to wipe the rims of the jars. Please, please, please use vinegar here because we do have oils in this jar, and we don't want anything to keep us from getting a perfect seal. See all of that on the rim of the jar? Go ahead and wipe those rims clean. All right, we don't want any false seals here. Now once we do that, we're going to grab our lids out of the water here, and the fire is off. It's been off, but they are good and warm, so I'm grabbing them with my lid magnet and I'm putting those on the jar. Once I get all the lids on, I'm going to grab my bands and I'm going to put my bands on each one of the jars. You'll notice here that once I put the bands on, I'm stopping once it meets that first point of resistance, where it just won't turn anymore on its own. And then once I have them all on, I'll go back and I will turn them again, fingertip tight. We don't want to screw down those bands too tight. Beautiful jar of soup. Let's get all of our jars in the canner, and once we get them all in, we're going to repeat this process for the remaining jars. Okay, now it is time to get our lid on the canner. We got 7 quarts in that canner, okay? Now, we're gonna get our lid, put on. Make sure you turn your fire up to high because we need for this canner to start to build up pressure inside. Once it starts to build up pressure inside the canner, it's gonna start pushing air out of that little vent pipe right there, okay? Now you want to make sure that your vent pipe is completely clear. You should be able to see right through it, okay? So you want to make sure your vent pipe is clear. And this is going to start to build up pressure. That little flow, that little air is going to start coming up out of that canner. But what you're looking for is a steady flow of steam, okay? Being forced out through that vent pipe. Once you see a steady flow of steam, set a timer for 10 minutes because your canner is going to have to vent for 10 full minutes, okay? And once it's done venting for 10 minutes, for your altitude, you're going to pop on however many pounds of pressure you need for your altitude. For me, it's 10, all right? This does not come. First of all, let me say this. This little weight does not come with this canner. Actually, this one comes with another canner that I have. That's also a Presto pressure canner, okay? If you have this 23 quart, yours is going to come with a pressure regulator, okay? But I'm not using the pressure regulator. I'm using this, the weight. This is 5 pounds. This is 5 pounds. It comes with 2 additional little rings like this, and it'll give you a total of 15 pounds, right? But for my altitude, all I need is 10. So that's 5, this is 10, okay? Once this is done venting for 10 minutes, I'm gonna come back and pop my weight on that vent pipe. And it's gonna continue to build up pressure. But don't worry, when we get to that point, I will show you exactly what I mean. Now, again, if you have a pressure regulator, you will still pop your pressure regulator on as well, okay? So we're gonna come back once this baby is ready to get the weight on. My timer has gone off. This has vented for 10 minutes. Hopefully you can see that steady flow of steam coming right on up out of this vent pipe right here. You see it? And it has been pushing out that steam for 10 minutes. So this is where I come in and put the weight on, okay? Just like so. Now if you have a pressure regulator, you're gonna put your pressure regulator on. And what'll happen is you'll start to see your dial gauge. You'll see the numbers start to get higher and higher and higher. And once it gets to the number for your altitude, then your weight is gonna start doing a little rocking motion. And when it does that, that's when it's time for you to start reducing the temperature. Do it slowly, okay? Turn the dial down and just reduce it gradually. Now for me, I know where the sweet spot is on my stove in order to get my canner to hold for me at 11 pounds of pressure, okay? And once it does that, I set me a timer. Now I am doing quart sizes for this soup. So for me, I'm gonna be processing my quarts at 90 minutes. If you were doing pints, you would do 75 minutes, okay? But 90 minutes is on the clock for me. So we will come back after 90 minutes and we will get these out of the canner. Now one thing to remember, when you are done processing your food, if you are new to canning, once the timer goes off and you are done, all you're gonna do is turn the fire off. Don't touch the canner, okay? I see so many times where people are saying, what did I do wrong? This is what happened and blah, blah, blah. Listen, don't touch the canner. Just leave it alone. Don't touch it, okay? Leave the canner alone and let it sit. It's going to take its time and come down from pressure. Once it comes down from pressure, this little dial, right, this little pipe right here, I don't think you can see it, but it's right here. That's going to drop. And this gauge is going to go all the way down to 0, provided that it's not broken like mine is, okay? But even when it does that, don't touch it. Just let it sit in there for another 10 minutes or so. Don't be in a hurry, okay? Because you don't want to risk siphoning. You don't want stuff coming all out your jars and all of that. And you don't want to just pull everything out super fast and it cools the jars too fast, right? You don't want that. So just take your time. If you're new to canning, I know you're excited. You can't wait to get in the canner and see what you've done. But just be patient, all right? We'll be back after this 90 minutes is up, okay? Now this is about to start doing that little jiggle dance because, well, we're just about there. You see it? You see her? You see her? She's jiggling now. So now I know it's time for me to reduce the temperature, okay? Oh, she's really doing it now. Like she live in Hawaii. So I'm gonna go ahead and gradually turn my temperature down. I just take my time, okay? Like I said, I know where the sweet spot is for me. Keep turning it down just a little at a time. And I'm good. Now I'm gonna set me a timer for 90 minutes. Keep in mind, during the pressure canning process, make sure that it's holding at the correct amount of pressure for your altitude. Because if it falls below that, well, you gotta bring it back up to pressure and you gotta start your timer all over again. And I don't care how long it's been in there, you gotta start over, okay? So make sure you keep an eye on it. All right, we'll be back when it's time to get them out of the can. All right, we are done. This has been down from pressure. It's been sitting here for about 10 minutes. I can go ahead and take off my little weight here and open my canner. if you're new to canning, be sure you open this lid away from you, okay? Please remember that, all right? The steam coming off of here will give you the worst facial ever. Now, these are ready to come out, okay? But it's cold in here. So I'm gonna take the lid off and I'm just gonna let this sit here for another 5 minutes because I want the temperatures to adjust from the inside of the canner to somewhat be similar to what's on the outside, okay? I don't wanna just pull these hot jars out into this cold room, all right? So we're gonna let them sit here for just 5 more minutes, that's it. All right, let's get them out of the canner. Oh, they look amazing. And they smell amazing. Ooh. Look at that. Mm-hmm. Seven quarts are out of the canner. Let's have a look at them. Look at those beautiful jars. Aren't they gorgeous? Look at that. Y'all, I'm telling you, it smells absolutely amazing in this house. Just beautiful. Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful cabbage roll soup. All right, voila. Cabbage roll soup is done. Now this is just my basic recipe for cabbage roll soup, but I do have another recipe for cabbage roll soup that does include a lot more ingredients and a lot more spices, okay? Many more spices, okay? And that's a different recipe, and I'm gonna save that recipe for another time, okay? But this is the basic recipe for cabbage roll soup and it's all done. I'm gonna list the ingredients to this soup in the comment section, okay? Remember to adjust this recipe according to your liking. You can halfen this recipe. You can add more spice or less spice. Just make it your own, okay? But y'all, that's gonna do it for this recipe for cabbage roll soup. And that also concludes Super Bowl Sunday. I hope you all have enjoyed the recipe so far. Remember to check out the playlist for Super Bowl Sunday. And tell me what you think of this recipe in the comment section below, okay? All right, y'all. Thanks for watching Homestead Heart. Peace and blessings. And I will see y'all in the next video.